Hello, math students. I feel really strongly about this topic of credit cards, and so I thought I would pop on and make you a short video going through and explaining them a little bit, but also just giving you a real wake-up call and a real warning. And my in-person accounting class right now has said things in the class like, wow, you really hate credit cards. And I said, yeah, I do. Because most people don't pay their balance off and fall into the trap. So let's explain it. Let's understand what we're talking about when we're talking about credit cards. And these are really good conversations to have with your parents, right? I really hope they're not like my parents who were kind of like, yeah, put it on the credit card and charge it up and pay it off next month. I've really moved away from all of that in the last 5 years of my life, and it's been just so freeing. And I wish I would have had this knowledge at a younger age. So I bet most of you have a debit card. You're all working. You probably all have a debit card. You're basically just spending your own money when you're using your debit card. I don't think anybody is panicked about that. Nowadays, you're paying with your phone. You're paying with your watches. There are so many electronic ways that you can pay. So we say pay with plastic. We often will mean the credit card. Now, credit cards are usually issued by banks. We also have something called charge cards, which are issued by more like department stores. But let's just stick with the credit cards. The biggest two here in Canada are Visa and MasterCard. We also have others like American Express, and you have to go through and you have to read this. I understand they're going to tell you can build a credit rating. Yes, I understand the credit rating is good for some things, but there's a lot of hype around that. That's for another lesson. You actually don't need a credit rating in your life. There's ways to do it. If you want to know, ask me. So it is convenient because there are some really easy things, like if you want to rent a car, all right, yes, you can do it with a debit card, but they make you pay a really big deposit. So having a credit card for renting a car, yes, I would need one for that. Renting a hotel, sometimes flights, they'll have extra insurances and things. But you have to remember to pay it back. Otherwise, we're going to go through an interest payment of how much you are actually going to be paying, and it's crazy. I like the fact that they're saying it's used in over 200 countries. And there are many, many, many different types of cards. You're going to do a little bit of research for this project to look at if they have rewards, like things like cash back or air miles. Some of them have higher interest rates. Some of them have higher annual fees. Some of them have no annual fee. So it all just depends. There's a lot. So go ahead and read through this, but let's focus here on the credit card statement. Here's what you need to realize, which a lot of people don't realize, which honestly, it blows my mind, that these credit card companies are going to start charging you interest from the day you purchased it if you don't make that payment, and when you have to make that payment. So your statement is usually always a month. That's very normal. So in this case, it's like May 11th to June 10th, right? They're saying, look, you only have to pay $6 because they just want to keep you paying as little as they can to make more interest on you. The payment due date is July 5th. So if you charge anything between May 11th and June 10th, they're giving you a 21-day grace period, it's called. Every bank, every Visa or MasterCard gets to set their own, but 21 is the minimum in Canadian law. And if you pay it all by July 5th, you'll pay no interest. Zero. You're good to go. It's almost really like borrowing money from the bank for like that 30-day period plus another 21-day grace period. It's like 51 days of no interest, which can be really helpful. Like, why not borrow someone else's money in that sense? But when I show you the statistics, let me pull it over here, about the number of Canadians that do not pay off their credit card each month is, look at this, close to half. Just focus on that for a minute. it's bad. It's bad. It means half of you are not going to be paying your credit cards. And if you don't pay your credit cards, they're going to ding you so bad in interest. Okay. So credit limit, that's how much they're going to give you. That's $1,000. Sometimes when you first get your first credit card, they'll make it what's called a secured credit card. So you'll actually have to give them $500, and then they hold it for a year, and they make sure that you're paying off your balance. And then after 1 year, they give you back the $500 deposit. So like for your first credit card, that's kind of normal, and you're going to research that when you look at this interest rate, 29.99%. Like that's insane. That's insane amount of interest. Just think about that for a minute. So those are the most important things to know when your payment date is and then what your balance is. So let's have a look and see, how do you calculate how much interest you're paying? Well, we've seen this formula in the last couple of lessons, right? So the total amount is the principal and the 1 plus your interest rate and your end. But you have to remember that credit card interest is calculated daily. Okay, that's weird, right? Because most loans that we've looked at, and then if we're invest like savings accounts, we would get monthly interest, depending on those words we talked about: monthly, semi-annually, semi-monthly, etc. But credit cards, it's a daily interest, and some of them calculate a daily. Some of them calculate your interest on an average spend for the month, and the example that we're going to do, they're going to calculate it on a per transaction. Oh, seriously. And again, every credit card is different. So in this situation, we charged $177.05 on May the 24th. So in your mind, think, okay, it's probably like a May 1st to May 24th or May 30th rate. It's usually about every month. Sometimes it's like the 5th of the month to the 6th of the month. Everything's different. And then you charged another $78 a few months later on July 13th. Okay. You didn't pay until August 5th. That's bad. That's very bad. Look at how late you were. You would have your 30-day billing cycle and your 21-day grace period, but this was 74 days. So that means they're going to ding you with interest from day one, the day that you charged it. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take that $177, and then you're going to put that into your equation right here. Your interest rate has to be entered as a percentage converted to a decimal. So in this case, this insane interest rate of almost 30% is 0.299 divided by 365 to get the daily. You get this crazy long number when you put in your calculator. You're going to add that to the 1, and you're going to raise it to the number of days in the exponent. Yeah, good thing we have these nice scientific calculators. It's a little bit crazy. So you are going to figure out the interest on that charge is $11. You may go, oh, Mrs. Mallinson, $11, that's not so bad. What if it was not $177, but what if it was $1,177? Now you're paying hundreds of dollars in interest, and you're paying interest from every single day that you've charged it, right? So the next example was very similar. It's for 23 days. So your interest rate by the power of 23 times the original amount gives you $80. So therefore you would have paid the total amount minus the original, another $1.49 in interest. You add up the $11.06 and the $1.49, and you've spent $12.55. And some of you are probably going, oh, I can afford $12.55, Mrs. Mallinson. Again, think big. Think in my future when I'm maybe charging thousands of dollars on my credit card. Or better yet, just be like me, just don't use them. Just don't use them. You know, again, they're for like emergency, if I need to book a flight or something. It's hard for me to teach this lesson. It really is, because I just don't like debt. Okay, so you're going to do a practice question down here, and we're going to put a little example. Okay, if we have a look at this cool website, this credit card payment calculator, I'm just throwing in some numbers here. What if we owe $1,000 at, let's just say 22%? Our minimum payment maybe is $10 or 3% of our balance. So that's going to be $30. Let's say that we're going to add in another $5 to put an additional $5 at it. or option C, we're just going to pay $100 a month. If we run those numbers, it tells us that in option A, it's going to take us almost 13 years. Look at this, people, to pay off our credit card. That's insane. Or if we do option B, minimum payment plus a little additional, 7 years to pay off $1,000. What? Or if we do the fixed amount, it's just 1 year. And look what you're paying in interest. You're paying $120 in interest. You're paying $789 in interest. Now, you only spent $1,000 on the card. Now, this is the kicker one right here. You're paying more in interest than you're paying for the original price of whatever you bought. Think about that for a minute. Right? It's insane. That's insane. But let's say we took a trip. Ooh, I don't know. What if I charged up $37.50 on a trip? I don't know, maybe I'm going to go to Cuba or something, right? And now I'm going to say to myself, okay, well, my minimum payment is going to be like 3%. It's whatever is greater, 3% or this amount. And in this case, that's going to be a lot more than $10. Let's make it up. Let's say maybe it's going to be like $120 of a minimum amount. Let's say I'm going to throw an extra $50 at it. Or maybe I'm just going to put $200 on. I'm saying to myself, I'm going to pay for this vacation $200 a month for the next however many years. And I click on calculate. Okay, this is crazy. That $37.50 trip becomes, dun, 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 $5,773 because I'm paying over $2,000 in interest. That's insane. Okay, so I want you to play it. I want you to make up your own little scenario with this. You can decide what your parameters are going to be, but it is hopefully just scaring you into saying cash is king. I don't want to have debt. I don't want to be like half of all Canadians that run a balance on their credit card. I'm smarter than that.